Hello everyone! In today's science lesson, we will continue Chapter 7, What Natural Resources Are. So what are natural resources? Natural resource is a material in nature that God made for people's use. For example, the three natural resources we learned yesterday are water, soil, and trees. All of these natural resources are very important to us because it provides us with things that we need in our lives. Water is a very important natural resource. How do you use water every day? We drink it. We use it to water the plants that provide food for us. We use water to wash our body, to do laundry. We use it every day for many reasons. And we use fresh water. But we have limited amount of fresh water. More than half of the Earth's surface is covered with salty water, not fresh water. So since humans and many other living things need fresh water to live, we have to try to conserve water. And conserve means to not waste and to use something wisely. And we need to conserve water. There are many ways to conserve water at home. We can turn off the water when we're not using it. We can also wait until we have a full load of dishes or laundry so that we don't use so much water. And even little things like using water cups while brushing teeth and shortening the time that you use to take shower, it all can help conserve water. Soil is another important natural resource. It's important because we need it to grow many plants that provide us with food. But sometimes the soil on the Earth's surface is moved from one place to another, and we call that erosion. Erosion is moving of the Earth's surface from one place to another. This is caused by wind or water. So the wind and water can carry the soil on the Earth's surface like this. Let's watch that one more time. The problem with erosion is that it also removes the soil that we need to grow food. So in order to prevent erosion, farmers may plow the field, meaning they break the soil in a certain way so that the soil is not carried down the slope by wind or water. Farmers may also plant trees and other plants that have strong roots so that those roots will help hold soil from moving. Another natural resource we learned were the trees. We use trees for many things. Not only do trees help keep the air clean, some trees give us food. We use the wood from the trees to build houses, to build furnitures, and even paper is made from wood. The good news about trees is that we can always replace them. We can plant more trees, and the seeds may spread and grow into new trees. But you have to understand, trees take many years to grow. So, we want to make sure that we don't cut them down faster than newly planted trees can grow. So the three natural resources we learned were water, soil, and trees. Today we are going to learn another important natural resource called fossil fuels. Fossil fuels include things like oil, coal, and natural gas. Let's go to our science book, page 108, to learn more about fossil fuels. Fossil fuels. During the flood, some living things formed fossils, but most living things died and were crushed. Their remains, or leftovers, formed fossil fuels. Fossil fuels are natural resources formed when plants and animals are buried quickly. Oil, coal, and natural gas are fossil fuels. Some resources can be replaced or put back, but we cannot replace fossil fuels. We use fossil fuels to produce energy. Most electricity is made by burning fossil fuels. We also use fossil fuels for heating. We make gasoline from oil. Gasoline powers many cars, trucks, and other machines. Let's stop here for a moment. So, what natural resources formed when plants and animals were buried quickly? They are fossil fuels. Fossil fuels are natural resources formed when plants and animals are buried quickly. Then what are some fossil fuel examples? They are oil, coal, and natural gas. Can fossil fuels be replaced like trees? No, we cannot replace fossil fuels. Then how are fossil fuels used? Well, we use fossil fuels to produce energy. Most electricity is made by burning fossil fuels. We use it for heating, and we also use it to make gasoline. And gasoline powers many cars, trucks, and other machines. What is this woman doing? She is filling her car with gasoline. What fossil fuel is she using? She is using oil. Gasoline is made from oil, and oil is a type of fossil fuel. Next page. Fossil fuels provide a good source of power, but they also cause pollution. Pollution is anything that makes the air, water, or land dirty. Spilled oil can destroy plants and animals. When we burn fossil fuels, we can cause air pollution. You can see the air sometimes in cities where there are many cars, like this picture right here. The polluted air is covering the entire city. God gave us fossil fuels to use, but people should use them wisely. You can help conserve these resources. Turn off the lights when you leave a room. Turn off the electronic game when you are done playing. Doing these things can conserve fossil fuels. On page 108, we learned that we use fossil fuels to produce energy. We can burn fossil fuels to have electricity, and we also use fossil fuels for heating, and we make gasoline from oil, which is a type of fossil fuel. And this gasoline that's made from oil powers many cars, trucks, and other machines. So we use fossil fuels in many ways, and they're very helpful. But we also have to remember that they can cause pollution. What is pollution? Pollution is anything that makes the air, water, or land dirty. How does using fossil fuels cause pollution? Well, spilling oil can destroy plants and animals. And we also learned that by burning fossil fuels, we can cause air pollution, meaning we're making the air very, very dirty. Where can we see air pollution? We can see air pollution in cities where there are many cars. So that's why we have to be smart and make wise choices when we are using fossil fuels. Fossil fuels can be helpful, but it can also be harmful. Then what are some ways that we can help conserve using fossil fuels? We can conserve fossil fuels by turning off the lights when you leave the room, or you can turn off the electronic devices like the game when you're done playing. What else? You can also keep doors and windows closed when heat or air conditioning is running. And you can plan car trips that use less gasoline. So those are the simple ways to conserve fossil fuels. Let's now move on to our activity manual, page 89. For numbers 1 through 5, you're going to read each phrase and then match this definition with the correct word in this box. So you're going to read each phrase and then write the letter that has the matching word on the blank space. Let's try number 1 together. Number 1, a material in nature that God made for people's use. What do we call a material in nature that God made for people's use? You can find the answer by using your book or the glossary. So yesterday on page 103, we learned that a natural resource is a material in nature that God made for people's use. So the answer is natural resource. You can also use your glossary and go down to the word natural resource, and it says a material in nature that God made for people's use. So for number 1, you're going to write down D for natural resource. Finish the rest on your own. For number 6, you're going to name 4 natural resources. I think you can do this on your own. So name the 4 natural resources that we learned from yesterday and today. Numbers 7 through 9, you're going to complete the sentences by filling in the blanks. Let's try them together. Number 7, one way to conserve water is to blank blank the water when you are finished. What is one way to conserve water? Let's go back to our book and see what could be the answer. On page 105, the second paragraph tells us a couple of ways to conserve water. So let's see. We should also conserve water. There are many ways your family can help. Turn off the water when you are not using it. So what do we do when we're not using it? We're going to turn off the water. So in the blank, you can write down turn off. One way to conserve water is to turn off the water when you are finished. Number 8, name 3 kinds of fossil fuels. Let's go back to our book. On page 108, you have some examples of fossil fuels. Fossil fuels are natural resources formed when plants and animals are buried quickly. Oil, coal, and natural gas are fossil fuels. So what are the 3 fossil fuels? They are oil, coal, and natural gas. So you can write down oil, coal, and natural gas. Number 9, one way to conserve fossil fuel is to blank blank the light when you leave the room. What can we write down to complete the sentence? What can you do when you leave the room? Let's go back to our book. The last paragraph on page 109 tells us a couple of ways to conserve fossil fuels. So, we can turn off the lights when you leave a room. What can we do when we leave the room? We can turn off the lights. So you can write down turn off. One way to conserve fossil fuels is to turn off the light when you leave a room. Next page. For numbers 10 through 13, you're going to write T if the statement is true. If the statement is false, write the correction for the underlined words. So you're not going to write down F if it is false. You're going to write the correct answer that could replace the underlined words. Let's try number 10 and 11 together. Number 10. We should conserve the natural resources God has given us. Conserve means to use something wisely or to not waste something. So we should not waste or use the natural resources wisely. Is that correct? Yes, that is true. Number 11. Most water on the earth is fresh water. More than half of the earth's surface is covered with water, but these large bodies of water that you see on the earth's surface is actually salty water. They are ocean. So most water on the earth is not fresh water, but salty water. Finish the rest on your own. Let's move on to write about it. So what you're going to do in this section is you're going to read this story. So read this paragraph and then write a couple of sentences to explain your answer. So let's read the story together. After each rain, Mr. Burns swept dirt from his driveway. He decided to buy low-growing plants. He prepared the soil. Then he put the plants on the sloping bank above the driveway. As the plants grew, they covered the bank. Mr. Burns had less dirt to sweep up. So now you're going to have to explain what is happening to the driveway, and then explain why Mr. Burns bought plants and put them on the sloping bank above his driveway. Well, let's see what's going on in the story. So in the story, Mr. Banks has a sloping bank. Bank means land, which is right above the driveway. So it's somewhere nearby the driveway. And after each rain, Mr. Burns swept dirt from his driveway. So every time after it rains, Mr. Burns gets this dirt on his driveway. So what's going on in this picture? Every time after it rains, he has dirt on his driveway. Do you remember what this is called? Moving of the Earth's surface from one place to the other is called erosion. Then why would he be putting plants on this sloping bank? We learned in our lesson today that farmers, they plant trees or other plants so that the strong roots could help hold the soil in place. And that's exactly what Mr. Burns is doing. Well, we know after the plants grew and after they covered the bank, Mr. Burns had less dirt. So you can write something like the bank above his driveway. What's happening to it? It is eroding. And we know that plants help hold the soil in place. Mr. Burns is putting plants on the bank so that their roots will help prevent erosion. So you can write something like this as your answer. You can explain that the bank above his driveway is eroding. That's why he's getting this dirt after each rain. And after he puts the plants on the bank, those roots of the plants help hold the soil in place. and now he has less dirt. Once you are done, I want you to go to page 86 and you're going to complete this chart. I know it says to complete the web with your teacher, but I think you can try this on your own. So you're going to write down the 4 natural resources that we learned in yesterday and today's lesson, and you're going to draw an example of those natural resources. And you can use the book or go back to the beginning of the video to draw examples for your natural resources. And we will go over the answers together on this Friday's Zoom meeting. And that's it for today. Bye, everyone.